Hey everyone, welcome back to another Tic Tac Taiko. If you play Taiko, you've probably dropped a Bachi at least once. If you haven't dropped one yet, well, you have something to look forward to, don't you? This week I've taken a very logical approach in how to deal with a drop Bachi for if or when it happens to you. Let's go. Have you ever seen those public service announcements they show on TV? The ones that go a little like this? Have you and your family developed an action plan for when disaster strikes? Do you know the escape routes and where to meet up? I've decided to take what is sort of a disaster in Taiko, which is a dropped Bachi, and make an action plan. A little bit flowchart, a little bit decision tree, just a very logical way to deal with things. It doesn't mean it's going to go as planned, but for me, I like the idea of thinking of this is what I would like to do so that when the worst case scenario happens, I have at least a framework to deal with. This is by no means comprehensive, by no means the only way to approach it, but it's food for thought. When I see a Taiko song being performed, it's like a story. It's captured my attention. It's trying to tell me something and take me on a journey. When someone drops their Bachi, it means there's another story, and ideally that story ends quickly, because the longer that story goes on, the more chapters it has, and the more of a distraction it is from the main story. If your Bachi leaves your hands, it's going to follow one of three scenarios. Either A, it lands so close to you that all you have to do is reach down and pick it up. That's ideal. B, it goes so far away that you don't have a choice. It's gone. And C, it's not too close, but it's not too far away. And that's the scenario we're going to work on here. For this scenario, that Bachi there is actually close enough for me to grab, but I'm going to pretend it's not so we can go through the example. There are two things you can do in this scenario, but no matter which one you pick, the number one thing you have to do is commit. You have to commit to whichever decision you make. You can either go get it or you can forget it. Let's say you decided to go get the Bachi. Remember, commitment is key. It's pretty simple. All you have to do is stop playing, move over to it, crouch, lean over, whatever it takes, pick it up, get back to where you were, maybe even take a breath, and then continue to play. Going this route shows the audience professionalism and also shows them that you have control over the situation. So going back to the whole story metaphor, oh, something is happening. Oh, they've taken care of it. Book is closed. Story is over. It can also help you keep your emotions, your real feelings from the audience, because maybe inside you're feeling, my Bachi! But outside, audience doesn't see it. Staying on the go get it path, there are two approaches you can take. One is to be serious, and the other is to be light. Both of them have merit. The serious approach is more about the controlled, calm, composed feel. It's the example I showed earlier. This is exceptionally good when you want to minimize the distraction. No, I am dealing with the problem, the story is done. The light path is a little more natural. You're allowed to acknowledge either through body language or even your facial expressions that yes, your Bachi is over there, not where it should be. So maybe you trot over, maybe you shuffle over, it's okay. You pick it up, maybe with a flourish, you get back, you start playing. Maybe you acknowledge another player on stage who saw you like, yep, or haha, I know. You're bound to get the audience smiling a little bit and definitely some sympathy. And this is also a good way to kind of alleviate any stress you might have. Let's say you've decided to take the other path. Forget it. You're just going to deal with having one Bachi for now. If the Bachi winds up anywhere in your field of vision, it's more difficult than you think to leave it alone. It's almost like it's mocking me. It's calling out to me. It's making me feel guilty. I'm the one who dropped it. Why aren't I going over there and picking it up? This now leaves me with two choices, and I have to commit. Which one do I want to use? One of them is to pretend I have 2 bachi, even though I clearly don't. And I'm going to play whatever I was playing before with 1 less bachi. Now, in terms of the story and the audience, this might add a chapter because the audience is curious, what's this weird thing going on over there? But eventually they will realize there's not much else to see and the story is over. It's not easy. As a player, you know it doesn't feel right, but you made the commitment and you're dealing with it. The second option is to play whatever you were playing with just 1 hand. First, you have to ask yourself, is what I'm supposed to be playing so important that I need to try to play with 1 hand? The second question is, can I actually play it with 1 hand? If the answer to either one of those questions is no, then I recommend not taking this path. But you might find that you can answer yes to both questions. First thing you want to make sure you do is that your stronger, dominant hand is the one with the bachi. You've already dropped it. There's no shame in switching again. It's not like this is going to create a whole new story. Now my stronger hand has the bachi. I can play what I need to. I'm gonna keep emphasizing the word commit over and over throughout this video because that is the key. No matter what decision you make and how it travels down this decision tree, committing is the most important part. Whatever you decided to do it fully. Don't half commit. One example I see is when people are playing a pattern, their bachi falls, and they feel like they have to continue playing something, whether it's the exact pattern or part of the pattern. And as they're playing and getting their bachi, well, for one, it doesn't look good. And 2, it rarely sounds good. Tempos speed up, slow down, the patterns change. So now not only are you distracting the audience, you're distracting the rest of the group. Stop playing, just go get it if that's what you want to do. Another very common sort of half commitment I see, person plays a pattern, drops their bachi, and they decide to keep one of their feet where it is. It just feels like I can't leave my drum. And so they wind up doing this. And I guarantee you, more often than not, what happens? Now it's worse. Now that story that was maybe 1 chapter to start is now on chapter 5. The audience is invested in what you're doing instead of enjoying the song. Leave your drum, move your body, get the bachi. Story is over. There's another flowchart I want to talk through, but I'm not going to take as much time. I'm just going to go through the basics. This is what happens when someone else drops a bachi and you are in a position to do something about it. Regardless of which action you take, you have to commit yet again. Let's say you decide to pick up the bachi because you want to hand it to the player. Well, this is just like going to get the bachi when you dropped it yourself, so you have to consider those same things we went through in the first section. Let's say now you have their bachi. How do you want to give it to them? If you're close enough, maybe you can hand it over to them. You might be able to see each other really well and that they know you have their bachi. So perhaps an underhand toss with a lot of motion so that they can easily see it coming and catch it. But you have to be sure you're comfortable tossing it this way. You have to be sure that they're comfortable catching it, and you have to be 10 times more sure that they saw that you were going to toss it. Just because they glanced in your direction doesn't mean they have any idea what your intentions are. And the last thing you want to do is to throw a bachi in somebody's face after they just dropped their bachi to begin with. A third thing you can do, especially when there's a lot of distance between you and them, is to get down on the ground and slide the bachi towards them. Do not roll it towards them. If you're rolling it this way, I will bet money that it will go in a direction you don't want it to. Aim it towards the person and thrust it forward. This has the best chance of actually going in the direction you want. You may find yourself in a position where the bachi is close enough to get somehow, but whatever you're playing is too important to stop or to modify. This is one of those times where you have to forget it and you have to really commit, because you might start feeling guilty that all you have to do is take that bachi and hand it to them or slide it to them. It would be so easy. But if you know what you are playing is too important, you just have to commit to it. The last option that you can commit to is all about safety. Regardless of whether or not they have another bachi or they're suffering because they don't, if their bachi is within your general reach, whether or not you have to go to it or not, you may feel that it's a hazard. Someone, maybe not them, maybe somebody else, might step on it or might be traveling through that path, and you need to get it out of there now. Whatever option you pick is disrespectful to the bachi somehow, if that matters to you. Either you're going to use one bachi to scoot it back, to hit it across, to push it away, or you're going to use your foot to do the same thing. Now, I know by saying step on it and kick it out of the way that some people watching this are going to cringe. Like, oh, that's so disrespectful to the bachi. But when it comes to a choice between disrespecting the bachi or preventing someone from falling and injuring themselves, the bachi can be apologized to later. I realize that for a lot of people, this is way too cerebral. It's way too logical. Mike Tyson is quoted as saying, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Dropping a bachi is essentially getting punched in the mouth. So maybe the action plan doesn't work for you as a model, but now is a good time to ask what does work for you? What helps you plan for when the worst happens? What can you do now to make it not so bad then? If you like this video, you can commit. You can give it a thumbs up or hit the subscribe button or both. If you have comments or questions, please feel free to reach out. And until next time, keep on practicing and be well.